This is lesson 6.6, lesson 6.6 in pre-algebra, proportions and percents. So, okay, here's the deal. Whenever you see or hear a word sentence with the word percent, what do you do? How do you write percent again? It's so simple. How do you write that as a fraction? Out of 100, right? If I say 5%, it's 5 out of 100. If I say 35%, what is that? How do you turn that into a fraction? 35 over 100, right? No matter what I say, it's over 100. Agreed? That's what you do, right? Whenever you hear the words, whenever you hear the words, 75%, 82.6%, all you do is you put it over 100. That's what you do. That's how you write it as a fraction. Now, what about the word of in math? What does the word of mean in math? If I say, what is half of 10? What does of mean? Of means times. It does mean times. And so here's the deal. Look, if I say, what is 1/2 of 10? First of all, you all know what is half of 10? It's 5. You know this, right? So let's look and make sure that we get it. Half of 10, 1/2 times 10 over 1 is 10 over 2, which is 5. Does that make sense? Of means times. So whenever you're talking about math, and it's half of, or 35% of, or, whatever, of means times. So then, if I were to give you a simple problem like, what is 65% of 245? Okay, this is what you do. You take 65%. What do I do I would go 65 over 100 times 245 over 1. Agreed? If I were to allow you to use a calculator, you wouldn't need to do this. What would you do up here? What would you do to do 65%? How would you write that as a decimal? How do you write 65% as a decimal? How do I do this, right? You would move the decimal, it would go from here, go boom, boom, so it'd be 0.65, and you'd go times 245. It would get you there, right? But if you were going to, if I made you do it the long way, then this is how I would do it. Now, what do you do at this point? You reduce things, right? So I'm going to divide this by 5. Divide this by 5, which is 20. Divide this by 5, which is 13. Divide this by 5 again, which is 4. Divide this by 5, which is, 19. No, is that true?
No, 49.
49, thank you. 49. And then there's nothing else to do, so then you'd go 13 times 49 is what? What's 50 times?
50 times 15.
50 times 13 is 650 minus 13, so 637 over 4, whatever 637 divided by 4 is your answer. It comes out to 159.25, and you would, we'll talk about calculators here in a minute. Okay, so then you look at this. Now listen, this is where you have to be able to estimate in your head, okay? You need to be able to estimate in your head to know, am I even right? Because that's an ugly number. Do you agree that 159.25 is ugly? So let's estimate here. 65% is about 2/3, agreed? It's more than half. It's a little bit more than half. 50% would be half. Half of 245 is going to be about 120, right? About 120. So a little bit more than half. Does 159 land somewhere near a little bit more than half, a little bit more than 120? I think so. Does that make sense? It's more than 120. That's what I would do. You guys try one. I'll give you an easier one. Let's do 40% of 250. Do that for me. Do not use a calculator right now. Figure out what is 40% of 250. Okay, here we go. 40% of 250. How do I write this out then? 40%?
40 over 100.
40 over 100. Of means? Times 250 over 1. Start reducing things. I would go divide by 10. Listen, I would always just divide by 10 if you can, right? So this becomes a 4. This becomes a 10. I divide this by 10. This becomes a 25. This becomes a 1. 4 times 25 is 100 over 1, which is 100. 40% of 250 is 100. How many have you got? 100? No?
No.
So do you see why, do you see what I did here? I'm confused as to what the problem is. 40% of 250, right? We decided that? How do you, okay, let's just say you wanted to use a calculator. You'd go 0.4 times 250. You know what that comes out to? 100. What did you guys do wrong?
I did. So
40 over 100 times 250
so I
over
did,
1. Let's divide this by 50 and make this a
Yeah.
2 and make this a 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what?
So then, oh, I didn't divide by 2.
40 times 5 is 200 over 2, which is 100. Let's just say you came up with 200 though, Jack. 40% is a little less than half. A little less than half of 250 isn't 200. Do you all see what I'm saying here? I mean, like, this is why you need to quickly do a little estimation. How long should estimating take?
2 seconds.
2 seconds. You should be able to look at that and go, wait, that doesn't even feel right. 40% is about half. Ooh, and you put 200 as your answer? No good. Should have been 200 divided by 2, which is 100. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try 70% of 40. 70% of 40. Seriously, you're watching that though. Lauren, here we go. Just make sure you got this. 70%, what do I do?
70 over 100.
Times 40 over 1, right? You all kind of set up the problem, then you're good. Divide this by 10, which is 10. Divide this by 10 is 4. Divide this by 10, which is 1. Divide this by 10, which is 7. 7 times 4 is 28 over 1, which is 28. How do you make sure that's right? Well, look, here's the deal. Look, people, 70% is more than half, right? Is 28 a little bit more than half of 40? Is it more than half of 40? Yeah, right? I mean, like, that's just a quick little, like, that's what I mean by estimating. Just, okay, that number at least seems right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems right. That's all you got to do. That's what estimating is. Okay. Here's what they may give you. They may give you something like this. They may give you a question that looks like this, that 80%, they might go 80% is 80%, no, let's go like this. They might give you one that looks like this. What percent of 50 is 30? Now listen, this is important. This is now a little bit different. It says what percent of 50 is 30? No, what percent? Now, hold on. How do I write down 10%? How do I write down 10%? 10 over 100. How do I write down 17%?
17 over 100.
How do I write down 250%?
250%.
How do I write down what percent? Do you see how they've got this? How do I write down what percent? I would say that's totally fine. Question mark over 100. Now, in algebra, you don't use question marks. What do you use?
Letters.
A variable, right? So then if you ever see what percent, you go x over 100. If you ever hear the words what percent, you go, oh, x over 100. It's that simple. It's that straightforward. Okay, so what percent is x over 100 of 50 means, what's of 50?
Times 50.
Times 50 over 1 is, what does is mean? Equals 30. We've just now set up our problem. So that's straightforward. What can we do here? So let's do this. Let's 50 times x is 50x over 100 equals 30. Now what?
No, you reduce.
I could multiply both sides by, is the variable happy?
No.
He's being multiplied by 50 and being divided by 100. Which one should I take care of first here?
100.
Get rid of the 100. So multiply this side by 100. Multiply this side by 100. This is now 50x equals 3,000. Just, I'm right. I'm confused as to what you're confused about. Anyway, just watch. Divide both sides by 50. What is 3,000 divided by 50? What is that? 3,000 divided by 50. 50 goes into 300 6 times, 60 times 60. So then here's the deal. It says what percent of 50 is 30?
60%.
Does 60% sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Right. Okay, I'll show you one more of these. What percent of 70 is 49? What percent of 70 is 49? I will show this to you. I'm going to show you. What percent? What do I do with the words what percent?
X over 70. Oh, X over 100.
Anytime you see here 5%, 5 over 100. What percent? X over 100. Okay? Of 70 is equals 49. Let's look. Can't we just solve this now? I mean, isn't this just an equation? Isn't it just an equation? Okay. What do I do with this over here? Let's multiply it. Isn't x times 70, 70x over 100? Don't you agree with that? Isn't this side, isn't that the same as this? Do you not see that, or do you see that? Do you see that? I mean, if you don't get it, then let me know, and I can tell you what that equals 49. How do I now, the x is not happy, what do I do here? I multiply both sides by 100 to get rid of this 100. Multiply both sides by 100, that's gone. 70x equals 4900. Divide by 70, x equals, you know what it is? What's 4900 divided by 70 is 70. 70 what? It's percent, right? It's asking what percent. It's 70% of 70 is 49. You guys do one now. What percent of 120 is 30? What percent? We're all right. What percent?
X over 100 times 120 equals 30.
Right? You have to. If you can't set the problem up, you have no chance of doing it. 120x over 100 equals 30. Multiply both sides by 100. 120x equals 3,000. Divide by 120. Divide by 120. X equals, you know what it is?
120. Oh, shoot.
25. 25. What is 25? 25 what? If you write down 25 as your answer, I mark it wrong because that makes no sense. There's a big difference between the number 25 and 25%. Oh, you got that? 25%? No? What did you do wrong?
Yeah, neither did I. I said it wrong.
Okay. So here's the deal. Here's what I'll let you do. Okay, here's what I'm going to let you do. I'm going to let you use a calculator in that you have to still do this my way. You still have to put x over 100 and, you have to do that. But you can, when it comes to multiplying by 100, when it comes to dividing by 120, when it comes to, when it comes to doing the big things like, 3,000 divided by 120, you can just quickly use a calculator. Does that make sense? I will give, let's see. This will be like a little contest here. We'll see who can get this first. First person to get this gets something. We'll see. 14 is 35% of what? 14 is 35% of what? Set the problem up. See if you can do it. 14 is 35% of, just write it out. You know how to do this. Try and set the problem up. deal. Here's the answer. Here's how you do this, people. You just look, read it, and write and set it up as a problem. 14. 14 is, what's is? Equals 35%. 35 over 100 of times. There's a big blank here. We don't do blanks. We're not getting kindergarten. What do we put?
X over 1.
X, right? For now, X. Okay? Put it over 1 if you want to. 35, this is now 35. X over 100 equals 14. Multiply by 100, multiply by 100. 1400 equals 35x divided by 35 divided by 35. X equals 40. And it's just 40, right? It's just the number 40.
I didn't finish.
But does that make sense?
That's what I was doing.
Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Yeah. There's lots of ways to solve this. I'm not going to show you each one. I don't want to confuse you, but this is what I would do. Okay.
What did she get?
Huh? She doesn't get anything. You shouted out the answer. That's a bummer. You ruined it for everybody. No, it's not a big deal. I was just going to give those wings over there to somebody.
It hurts. It hurts so much.
I know. Delicious,
I
original, hot,
I doubt
boneless
that.
wings.
I doubt that.
I was going to give them.
Seriously.
All right, I'll give you guys one more chance. Whoever the first person to get this gets the boneless.
Don't shout out the
Gets the boneless wings.
Well, no, I'm not going to mess up.
Gets the bonus wings. Oh no.
Oh, you're gonna... Oh my gosh!
Do it. Quick, let me show you. How do you write down 12.5%? You'd go 12.5%, right? I mean, so 12.5, which is what? How do I turn that to a decimal? Okay, forget that. It would be 12.5 over 100. Agreed?
Oh,
12.5 over 100?
Again.
Of means times x is equals 6. 12.5x over 100 equals 6. Times 100 times 100. 12.5x equals 600. 600 divided by 12.5 divided by 12.5. 600 divided by 12.5 is 48.
Oh, I got 4.
I got 7,500.
Oh, I did 125 divided by 60.
Okay, I don't care.
I did 125 divided by 600.
Yeah.
So confused.
Not 100.
Yeah, well, anyway.
I'm so bad at this.
5.
Here's your homework.
Wow, it hurts how awful it is.
I'll go heat it up for you there, Sheena. Today is this, so we've got it's page 318, 1 through 30 even. Now here's the deal with that. Is it 1 through 30 even? Yeah. You do not need to do, you don't have to do 2 and 10. I didn't show you how to do the chart there. I mean, you can, whatever. I'm just saying, you don't need to do 2 and 10 if you don't want to.